I held my coat in my arms, and the bag in my hand contained liver-protecting pills. The corridor was long, and the shadows of the lights fell on the paintings, reflecting colorful lights. They fell all over the floor. In the room at the end, the laughter became louder and louder. The entire floor here was reserved by Zhou Xuyan all year round. No strangers could get close, so they didn't even close the door. My heel tripped on the long pile of the carpet, and when I bent down, the necklace around my neck suddenly broke. Pearls of all sizes fell to the ground. My heart suddenly hurt. I was about to squat down to pick up the pearls. Then I heard Zhou Xuyan's voice. Don't. I'm not as promiscuous as you. My first love, by Yue Guang, the love of my life, is only my wife. He was probably drunk, and his drunken voice was full of pride and complacency. I couldn't help but purse my lips, holding the cool pearls. My heart felt as if it had been ironed and relaxed. It's just a pity, Zhou Xuyan suddenly sighed. I only found out after marrying her that she is just SOSO. I suddenly clenched my palms, the pearls rubbed the soft flesh of my palms, and my smile froze at the corners of my lips. What about me, Zhou Xuyan? A soft female voice suddenly sounded, with a bit of unwilling grievance and resentment. You said that your wife is the only one you love in this life. Then what do you think of me? You said you loved me the most last night. The men all laughed. Silly sister, do you believe what men say in bed? Besides, it's natural for people to love their wives. Why are you fighting for favor as a mistress? Zhou Xuyan, look at them. The girl's voice was filled with tears. It sounds really pitiful and pitiful. Okay, why are you bothering her? What mistress? This is my girlfriend. Watch your words. Zhou Xuyan's voice was slightly low, as if he was a little unhappy. No, brother Yan. Are you serious? Zhou Xuyan said. She followed me when she was 18. I have to be responsible. You beast. You just came of age and you did it. Aren't you afraid that your sister-in-law will make trouble with you? Zhou Xuyan laughed. She depends on me for support. What can she do to me? But you better shut up. I love my wife very much, and I don't want her to be sad. You love your wife very much. What about me? The little girl was not willing to obey again. Zhou Xuyan stretched out his hand to pull the person to him, hugged her in his arms and coaxed her. Is it worth shedding tears for such a trivial matter? The little girl choked and acted coquettishly. Zhou Xuyan, I want you to say that you love me the most. I am willing to do it even if you lie to me. Okay, baby, she is so boring. Of course she loves you the most. I stood in the shadow outside the door and suddenly laughed. The man who once swore to love me forever, now he was coaxing a younger girl, but I didn't even want to go in and question him. Once unfaithful, 100 times useless. I turned around and walked over the long corridor. 17-year-old Zhou Xuyan secretly carved my name on the desk. He said Zhou Xuyan loved Lin Bihan and would love her forever, but his life was just 10 years in the blink of an eye. When Zhou Xuyan came back that day, I was already having breakfast downstairs. He hurried in with a big bouquet of flowers and gifts. His face was full of apology and guilt. I'm sorry, honey. I was too late last night because of socializing. When we got married, he promised that no matter how busy he was, he would never stay out all night, but in the past 6 months, he has been coming home later and later. This time, he didn't come back all night. I put down my chopsticks and looked up at him. The suit, shirt and tie have all been changed. The smell on his body is clean and refreshing. It's hard for him to be so rigorous. He put down the bouquet and came over to kiss me. Wife, I swear. This is the first time and the last time, but I raised my hand to stop him and asked word by word. Did you stay at the company last night? Zhou Xuyan didn't hesitate at all. Yes, you can see that the clothes I changed are all those you prepared for me. After that, he held my shoulders and looked at me cautiously. Wife, are you angry? I'll be with you all day today, so I won't go to the company, okay? I also looked at him, at the self reflected in his pupils. He didn't dodge or evade his gaze, without the slightest guilt, and I was able to hide my sadness tightly. No, I pushed his hand away. Let's eat first. But as soon as he sat down, his cell phone rang. I saw him frown and hang up, but it rang again soon. He hesitated for a few seconds and still hung up. Then, a message came in. After reading it, Zhou Xuyan frowned. By Han, there's something urgent at the company. You go, forget it. I'll let Lin Yu deal with it first. And promise to accompany you all day. He said this, but his face showed his distracted mind. No, the company's business is more important. Go quickly. I looked at him calmly, and even the pain in my heart became numb. Zhou Xuyan struggled for a moment and stood up. Then I will try to come back to accompany you as soon as possible, I said. And watched him hurriedly get in the car and leave. I realized it later and wiped away the cold tears on my face. I called my best friend, Shinshin. please help me make an appointment for a physical examination at your hospital today. After the physical examination results came out, I breathed a sigh of relief. My body is still clean. I am not pregnant either. When I married Zhou Xuyan, my health was very poor, so we have never had children. But just in case, I still did a detailed examination. Doctor, I want to ask, how is my body recovering now, after getting a positive answer? I felt that the turbid air in my heart had dissipated for the most part. I came out with the report, and just as I walked to the corner of the corridor, I happened to hear Zhou Xuyan's name. Zhou Xuyan, if I am really pregnant, can I not abort it? I stopped and looked at the two people not far away. Zhou Xuyan held a cigarette between his fingers, frowning, a little impatient. The girl had a plain face and was crying with tears all over her face. She was shaking him and begging him with her sleeves. Zhou Xuyan sneered. My wife hasn't given birth yet. Is it your turn? But this is my first baby. I can't bear it. I promise I will be good and never cause you any trouble. I will never let your wife know about the existence of me and the child. Zhou Xuyan patted her face with the hand holding the cigarette. Don't be naive, baby. The child can't be given to you. If you listen, I will buy you a house after you beat the child. But if you don't beat the child, Tao Yuan, I'll say it in advance, there are a lot of beautiful and obedient girls in your college. It's easy to change one to sleep with every day. It doesn't have to be you. The girl was frightened by his few words, with tears on her face and pale face. I'll be obedient, Zhou Xuyan. Don't abandon me. Be good. Go get a checkup. I'll go get a checkup. But, husband, you said before that your wife's health is too poor to give birth. If I'm really pregnant, I'll just treat it as giving birth to her, and she can raise the child. I won't fight or compete, okay? Zhou Xuyan was silent for a moment. Go get a checkup first, and then we'll talk after the checkup. The little girl pushed the door open with sobs. Zhou Xuyan finished smoking and put out his cigarette. When he turned around, I pretended to just walk over. Seeing me, he seemed stunned for a moment, but soon he changed his look to a nervous and worried one. Wife, why did you come to the hospital? Are you feeling uncomfortable or injured somewhere? Zhou Xuyan held my arm, looking extremely anxious. Why didn't you call me and come to the hospital alone? He looked me up and down, his eyes full of anxious concern. It seemed that his love for me had never diminished in the past 10 years. My hands and feet gradually became cold. It was as if the bones were cold. How could Zhou Xuyan act so affectionate? When he called me a wife all the time, his mistress was in the room not far away to check if she was pregnant. But he could not reveal any flaws in front of me, so much so that I could hardly tell them apart. Which Zhou Xuyan was the real him? I'm fine, just came to see a friend. He took a long breath and hugged me. You scared me to death. Wife, Zhou Xuyan, are you worried about me? I looked at him and asked softly. How can I not worry? He hugged me very tightly. When I married you, your health was so bad. I took great pains to take care of you for 3 years before you slowly got better. Wife, do you know that I was scared to death when I saw you just now? If anything happened to you, how could I live? I wanted to laugh, but the corners of my mouth were stiff, but his lips kept trembling, as if he had a mouthful of hot oil in his mouth. I asked him, then why did you come to the hospital? He held my arm tightly. Oh, I came to see an elder. He is in the hospital, but this is the obstetrics and gynecology department. But I didn't expose him. Zhou Xuyan's phone kept ringing on the way home. He simply turned off the phone. Even if the King of Heaven came today, I would stay at home with you. I didn't say anything. Just looked at the street scene outside the window. On the way back, we just passed by our high school alma mater. Familiar scenes, they were sweet in the past, but now they are like a blade wrapped in honey, piercing my heart. Somehow my vision blurred, and at the same time, I seemed to see the former me and Zhou Xuyan again. Lin Bihan, please don't be angry, okay? Please, listen to my explanation. Just one sentence, okay? Just one sentence, 2 sentences, 2 sentences, okay? The young Zhou Xuyan grabbed my sleeve with a playful smile and refused to let go. Get out, Zhou Xuyan, don't cry, hit me. Lin Bihan, hit me hard, just don't cry, okay? The phone in my bag suddenly rang. It interrupted my thoughts and brought me back to reality in an instant. I took out my phone and the message was from an unfamiliar number. He said you are not in good health and can't have fun every time. We haven't changed positions for 3 years of marriage. He's had enough. He doesn't like to use condoms, and he said that if I get pregnant, I should give birth. Anyway, you can't get pregnant, Mrs. Zhou. You are so useless. Why are you taking up the position? I suddenly laughed. Zhou Xuyan looked at me curiously. Wife, what are you so happy about? I locked the screen and said calmly, my best friend asked me out for afternoon tea, but I forgot about it. She was scolding me. Zhou Xuyan seemed to be relieved suddenly. Then are you still going? Of course. Otherwise Xinxin won't let me go for 3 days. You should go to the company and do your own things. Zhou Xuyan looked unhappy. I'm jealous of Sushin. You always favor her. I really don't want you to go. Isn't it good for us to live in a world of two? I looked back at him, but he had already turned and was ready to turn around. I smiled and turned my face. There will be time later. That's right. We still have a lifetime, and I won't compete with Sushin this time. He sent me to the private club and drove away in a hurry. Half an hour later, Tao Yuan sent me a message again. Has he abandoned you? Look, he said that if I cry, he will be soft-hearted. By the way, I'm pregnant, and he told me to give birth. He also said that he likes daughters. But I want to give him a son, I calculated, and I'm definitely going to have a son this time. It's just a pity that the doctor didn't let us have sex in the early stages of pregnancy. And I haven't worn the new underwear he bought for me yet. He has always had great needs, and you can't satisfy him, so he must be suffocating. I didn't reply, but just took screenshots of all the messages she sent. My hands were shaking a little when I did all this. Maybe Zhou Xuyan was too devoted to his acting over the years. I was also too naive to trust him, so when his absurd and decadent side was revealed, I still couldn't control my emotions. It turns out that the tenderness that moved me in bed was all fake. He had long been disgusted with our lukewarm love. When I thought restraint was love, reality slapped me hard. The decreasing number of roommates was not because of love or sympathy. It was just that we couldn't enjoy ourselves. So we were too lazy to even pretend. Before going home, I called my former mentor. Bai Han, you kid, why did you call me so late? Teacher, does your inspection team need more people? I want to join. Is your health okay? Actually, I wanted to join when I graduated. The teacher also hoped that I could go with her. It was just that my health was too poor at that time, and the inspection team had to travel all over the country and abroad. The conditions in many places were difficult, and sleeping in the open was commonplace. I just had a physical examination, and the doctor said that as long as you pay attention, there will be no problem. Is your husband willing? Bai Han. You have to know that if you join, you will be traveling for many years, and many of our projects are confidential to the state, and I am almost out of touch with my family. Teacher, I have decided to divorce. Did he do something to let you down? I smiled and nodded, swallowing my tears. Yes, he cheated. You have been in a relationship for 10 years? Have you really made up your mind, teacher? Do you still remember what you said to me when you wanted to divorce? I heard that you have other thoughts, so I will destroy them. I will destroy them and let the ashes fly in the wind. My eyes were red and tears rolled down. Teacher, I was taught by you, so of course I am the same as you. Okay, Bai Han, then the teacher is waiting for you to come. This should be the first time I took the initiative to ask Zhou Xuyan for money after marriage. He smiled happily on the other end of the phone. Wife, isn't all my money yours? You can just use my card as you like. That's different. I was so stubborn. Okay, I'll ask Lin Yu to transfer the money to you now. Zhou Xuyan, I won't take your money for nothing. I also have a gift for you. 3 days later, go to the message room of our high school alma mater. Go find Mr. Song in the message room. You still remember him, right? He will give you the things. Zhou Xuyan smiled when he heard it. How could I not remember? I transferred there in my 3rd year of high school. I wrote you hundreds of love letters in my 1st and 2nd years of high school. He collected them all on my behalf. I also smiled. Well, don't forget to pick it up in 3 days. No, wife, I'm looking forward to it now. After Zhou Xuyan transferred the money to me, I immediately donated it anonymously to my mentor's inspection team, printed the divorce agreement and screenshots of all the information, put it in a sealed bag and personally delivered it to the message room of my alma mater. The broken pearl necklace and the first ring he gave me, I burned them in the workshop and threw them away. Along with them, the countless love letters he had written to me turned to ashes. The morning of the last day, I finished breakfast with Zhou Xuyan as usual. I sent him to work. Zhou Xuyan was a little sorry. I planned to take you to the hot spring today, but I broke my promise again. It doesn't matter. Work is more important. I looked at him and smiled very lightly. Go quickly. Don't delay the business. Zhou Xuyan looked at me gently but guiltily. Wife, you are always so considerate and so good. These years, I have been busy with work and have too little time to accompany you. I looked at him quietly, but my thoughts drifted away. The boy who once warmed my cold hands in his palms in the winter morning mist, the man who knelt in front of my parents for a whole day to marry me, 10 years of companionship, he is still young and handsome. It is true that he loved me. It is true that he betrayed me. It is true that he felt guilty and pitied me, but it is also true that I am distracted and addicted to exciting love. I know that I can be deaf and dumb for my whole life. All the wives are Mrs. Zhou. No one can take this position away. But I don't want to be his Mrs. Zhou anymore. I want to be Lin Bihan again. Zhou Xuyan suddenly came forward and hugged me. Wife, I love you so much. Wait for me to come back. We'll eat together tonight. I don't know how hard it was to squeeze out a smile. How hard it was to hold back the unnecessary and redundant questioning. Fortunately, his cell phone rang again like a death sentence. I pushed him away. Go quickly, don't let people wait. He turned around reluctantly, but his steps gradually hurried. I smiled and turned upstairs. As usual, I changed my clothes and went to the garden to take care of the flowers and trees. I had a simple meal at noon. After getting up after lunch break, I changed my clothes to go out. I picked up a bag with all my documents and important items in it. When I went downstairs, the servant asked me with a smile, "Are you going shopping and drinking tea?" I nodded and chuckled. Well, no need to prepare dinner tonight. He would not go home for dinner tonight, and I would never come back again. The driver took me to the club I often went to and left. I went downstairs, and the car arranged by the teacher was already waiting at the corner of the street. The car had a secret license plate and ordinary people could not find it at all. I clutched the bag in my hand, crossed the road and got in the car. When the car door closed, the phone rang. The name flashing on the screen was Zhou Xuyan. I did not hang up, but I knew very clearly in my heart that this was the last time I talked to him. Wife, I don't even have the face to tell you. Zhou Xuyan's voice was full of regret and guilt. I have a very important social event tonight, and I really can't turn it down. I can't go home to have dinner with you, but I promise that I will come back early to accompany you tonight, okay? Wife, don't be angry. I have asked Lin Yu to get the gift I ordered for you before. You will definitely like it when you see it. I held my phone and looked at the endless long street outside the car window. Beyond the hustle and bustle of traffic, there was an empty silence. The figure that had been lingering in my heart for 10 years. The figure of a boy in a blue and white striped school uniform. At this moment, it completely disappeared from my heart. I knew clearly that I finally didn't love him anymore. Wife, why don't you talk? Are you angry? Zhou Xuyan asked cautiously on the other end of the phone. Forget it. I'll turn it down. I won't go. I'll go back to have dinner with you tonight. No, it's okay. I lowered my eyes and stared at the empty spot on my ring finger. You go about your business. Shinshin asked me to have dinner with her tonight. Then I'll try to come back earlier. Okay, if it's too late, you can stay at the company. You don't have to run back and forth. I'll come back no matter how late it is. I didn't say anything else. Zhou Xuyan said a few more words and hung up the phone in a hurry. I put the phone back in my bag and slowly closed my eyes in the slight bumps of the car. Zhou Xuyan stood by the window in the corridor with a cigarette in his mouth. It was dark outside and the night was getting deeper. Lin Bihan used to be in poor health and had a very regular schedule. At this point, she should have fallen asleep when Tao Yuan came out of the examination room with red eyes. Zhou Xuyan had already put out his cigarette. He looked at her and asked coldly, "What are the results of the examination?" "There is a little slight bleeding. The doctor recommends that you stay in bed more this month, then don't go to school for class and rest at home. Hubby, will you accompany me?" Tao Yuan hugged his arm aggrievedly. Zhou Xuyan frowned and pulled his hand away. "Didn't I tell you not to call me like that? There's no one here so I called." "Okay. I'll ask the driver to take you back. Aren't you going to accompany me? I feel very uncomfortable today. I'm afraid of bleeding again. Didn't the doctor prescribe medicine? You take the medicine and have a good rest." Zhou Xuyan walked directly to the elevator. "I'm not a doctor. There's no point staying there." Tao Yuan bit her lip and couldn't help crying again, but she was afraid that Zhou Xuyan would be annoyed, so she could only hold back her tears and followed him into the elevator. Zhou Xuyan, before getting in the car, Tao Yuan couldn't help but turned around and called him again. Zhou Xuyan raised his wrist to check his watch, obviously impatient. "What's wrong again? Will you come tomorrow? Didn't the doctor say that we can't have sex this month?" Zhou Xuyan raised his eyebrows. "It's useless to look for you. I have to accompany my wife well this month. You'd better be quiet." Tao Yuan was angry and aggrieved, tears falling down. Zhou Xuyan took her pregnancy into consideration and coaxed her a few words. "Take good rest. I'll come to see you when I have time." Tao Yuan watched him get into the car and leave without looking back. The tears froze on her face, and the roots of her teeth were sore from biting. She couldn't understand why she was young and beautiful, and couldn't compare to his sickly wife. Every time she thought of this, she hated him to the bone, but she couldn't bear to leave Zhou Xuyan, and everything Zhou Xuyan gave her, she could only bear it. Zhou Xuyan's car stopped downstairs. When the servant came out, he asked as usual, "Is the wife asleep?" The servant who was taking his coat was surprised. "Isn't the wife with you?" Zhou Xuyan stopped suddenly. "What did you say?" The night was dark, and only the lights in the house enveloped him. The wife went out shopping and drinking tea in the afternoon. When the driver was going to pick her up in the evening, the wife said that she didn't need to come, and she would eat outside with you. The servant became more and more frightened, and his voice began to tremble. When the wife went out in the afternoon, she told him not to prepare dinner tonight. Zhou Xuyan suddenly stepped forward and grabbed the servant's collar. What else did she say? Don't miss a word. Tell me clearly. The servant was so scared that his face turned pale. No. The wife said that there was no need to prepare dinner. Zhou Xuyan suddenly let go of his hand and pushed the person away. As he walked upstairs quickly, he took out his mobile phone and called Su Shen. Are you looking for Bai Han? We didn't meet today. But Bai Han said in the afternoon that she and you had dinner together tonight. Zhou Xuyan's voice was extremely calm. It was a calmness that he himself couldn't believe, but no one saw that his hand holding the phone was shaking all the time. Bai Han did call me, but I had an operation. So we agreed to meet another day. Zhou Xuyan didn't know how to hang up the phone. He called other friends who were close to Lin Bai Han, but they all said that they had no contact or meeting today. Zhou Xuyan stood outside the master bedroom with the door closed. At that moment, he didn't even have the courage to open it. How could he foolishly hold on to the fluke mentality of someone as smart as Lin Bai Han, thinking that she really knew nothing about all his actions? But when did she know? How much did she know? Can he win her forgiveness? Zhou Xuyan recalled the events of many years ago in panic. At that time, they were all in college. Because of the club's activities, he got close to a junior. That junior had a crush on him, and many people could see it. Lin Bai Han told him twice, but he didn't take it seriously. After all, he loved her so much that he didn't care about other women. Later, during the club dinner, he helped the junior to drink and even sent her back to the dormitory. Lin Bai Han didn't argue with him and broke up directly. He was stunned at the time, as if the sky had fallen. Later, after breaking up for a full 6 months, he couldn't remember how he got through it. He almost couldn't remember how hard he tried to get Lin Bai Han to change her mind. It gave him a chance to reconcile. When he opened the door, Zhou Xuyan's hands shook violently. The room was dark, and the bed was clean and tidy, empty. It seemed that even the aura that belonged to her had disappeared. Zhou Xuyan walked in quickly, pushing open every door in vain, but every room was empty. He dialed her number with shaking hands. It was connected, but no one answered. Zhou Xuyan forced himself to calm down. He lit a cigarette and took a deep puff. He dialed Lin Yu's number just now. Lin Yu, send someone to find her. Send someone to find her now. Check, Mr. Zhou. What do you want me to check? He told Lin Yu the club that Lin Bai Han went to during the day. Where did she go after leaving the club? Where is she now? Who has she contacted these days? Lin Yu, check her ID, airport, high-speed rail station, bus station, don't miss any place. Also, check her mobile phone location, and notify me as soon as there is news. Zhou Xuyan turned and went downstairs, and drove directly to the airport. There were not many places she could go, except for her hometown hundreds of miles away, which was the city where another best friend of hers in college got married. Zhou Xuyan tried to calm himself down. He asked himself if he had always been secretive. He had talked to his friends around him, and no one dared to talk nonsense in front of her. Tao Yuan didn't dare to do it even more, so maybe she just heard some rumors occasionally. Maybe it was just because he often came home too late during this period. He spent too little time with her and broke his promise several times. She felt uncomfortable and wanted to teach him a lesson. Now is not the past. They are husband and wife, and all their interests are tied together. She is in poor health and has been recuperating at home. Without him, she is like a bird released from a golden cage. And she won't live long. Zhou Xuyan comforted himself in this way, but it seemed to be of no use at all. His heart was beating all the way, his chest was boiling, and his whole heart was tormented like oil frying on fire. When the traffic light turned red, he called her again. Still no one answered. When they were almost at the airport, Lin Yu called. My wife left the club at around 4 p.m. It's just that the video of the whole street was blocked, so I couldn't find my wife's whereabouts. We checked the airport and high-speed rail station, but there was no information about my wife's trip. Mr. Zhou, maybe my wife is still in Beijing. Zhou Xuyan gripped the steering wheel and suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Go find her. No matter what, find her for me. Also, did you locate her by phone? No, my wife's phone location seems to have been blocked and interfered with by humans. Zhou Xuyan's mind was buzzing and blank. He couldn't hear what Lin Yu said again. He suddenly remembered what she said when she asked him for money that day. She said she also prepared a gift for him in the communication room of his alma mater. According to the agreement, he would pick it up in 3 days, which was tomorrow, but he couldn't wait even a second. One when he drove all the way to school, it was already past midnight, the lights in the message room had been turned off long ago, he didn't care too much and got out of the car and knocked on the door. He suddenly felt a chill on the tip of his nose. Zhou Xuyan subconsciously raised his hand to touch it, but he felt cold snowflakes. It was the first snow in Beijing. He and Lin Bihan got engaged in such a first snow. Zhou Xuyan stood in the gradually dense snow in a daze. He couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. It wasn't until Mr. Song called him several times in a row that he suddenly woke up. What was handed over was just a simple brown paper bag. The moment he took it, he felt like he was holding a hot coal and subconsciously wanted to throw it out. Maybe he had guessed what was inside. Maybe he didn't want to face it at all, but in the end, he still opened it. The 5 big words, divorce agreement, were what he saw. On the last page, there was her handwritten signature and fingerprints. Below that, there were some printed chat records. Apart from that, she didn't leave him a single word, but it seemed that what should be said and done had been made very clear. Zhou Xuyan only glanced at the chat records and then crumpled the paper into a ball. He handed Uncle Song a cigarette and apologized and thanked him in a nice voice, then he drove directly to Tao Yuan's place. When he opened the door, Tao Yuan was sleepy but extremely happy and rushed over to hug him. But he was stunned by a slap in the face. Zhou Xuyan didn't say anything, but just had a cold face and slapped him a few more times. Tao Yuan's face was swollen, and the corners of her mouth were broken and bleeding. She was beaten so hard that she couldn't stand up, and fell to the ground, holding her lower abdomen and crying for mercy. Zhou Xuyan looked down at her indifferently, then, without any mercy, he kicked her in the stomach. Tao Yuan almost fainted from the pain and rolled on the ground holding her stomach. Blood gushed out from between her legs, and the white carpet was stained red, but he still felt it was not enough, and bent down to grab Tao Yuan's collar, almost lifting her up. Who do you think you are? He pinched Tao Yuan's swollen face, almost dislocating her jaw. His handsome face was almost hideous and distorted. His voice was still cold and calm. A prostitute dares to make trouble for my wife. I let you give birth, but I don't want my wife to suffer. Do you think you are precious because you are pregnant? Tao Yuan, who gave you the courage to harass my wife and make her angry? Tao Yuan felt that her eyes were black from time to time, her stomach felt like a knife twisting, and she was scared to death and regretted it to death. Why was she so greedy? Did she want to covet the position of Mrs. Zhou? She gave birth to the child peacefully. How could she be without wealth and glory? I don't dare, Zhou Xuyan. I really don't dare. Please, save the child. The child can't be saved. Too late. Zhou Xuyan pushed her away with disgust. Tao Yuan, you'd better pray to God that my wife can forgive me and go home with me, otherwise, your life will be over. Zhou Xuyan, this is also your child. Tao Yuan's body spasmed in pain, and she lay helplessly on the ground struggling in pain. Her bloody hands tried hard to grab Zhou Xuyan, but he stepped aside and watched coldly as she fainted from the pain. Just now she made a phone call, send the person to the hospital. As long as he doesn't die. Zhou Xuyan didn't even look at Tao Yuan, and turned and left the room. When he went downstairs, the ground was covered with a layer of white. Zhou Xuyan was only wearing a shirt and trousers, but he didn't feel cold. He called Lin Bihan again, but still no one answered. Zhou Xuyan lowered his eyes and looked at the wedding ring on his ring finger. He suddenly remembered that it seemed that Lin Bihan had not worn a wedding ring on her hand a few days ago. So, that day in the hospital, in fact, she saw and heard everything, but at that time, she did not question it. She did not even shed a tear. How disappointed was she with him? Zhou Xuyan did not dare to think about it, did not dare to think about Lin Bihan's mood at that time, just as he could not find words to describe his mood at the moment. When I followed the teacher and went straight to a small town in the northwest thousands of miles away. The conditions were simple and the schedule was tight. The teacher was always worried that my body would not be able to bear it, but after getting through the initial discomfort, I gradually adapted to this fast-paced life and work. I changed my mobile phone and number, but the old mobile phone was still turned on, and the number was not cancelled, but it was left at home and not carried with me. Zhou Xuyan called and sent messages to my old phone almost every day, but I didn't answer or read any of them. After arriving in the northwest, I called Sushin and briefly told him about what happened with Zhou Xuyan. Sushin was so angry that he scolded Zhou Xuyan for 10 minutes on the phone. No wonder you ran away without saying a word. Bai Han, Zhou Xuyan has been looking for you like crazy these days, and he has come to the hospital to block me several times. But I really don't know where you went, so it's useless for him to block me. As for other classmates, he seems to have asked every classmate who has a good relationship with you. I told Sushin, if he looks for you again, just say you don't know. I know, don't worry, I won't let him bother you, but, Han, will you come back? Of course I will, I still have to go back to complete the divorce procedures with him, what if he insists on not getting a divorce? I smiled. It doesn't matter, anyway, I will run all over the world in the future, and he can't find me, let's just waste time. The Zhou family will definitely not agree, he is the only son and has a throne to inherit. After the call ended, several junior brothers and sisters came to ask me to go out for dinner. Dinner was another mutton pot, and the aroma was fragrant. Before, when I was in Beijing, I was in poor health, so I always paid special attention to my diet. Beef and mutton should be eaten less, for fear of not being able to nourish, but now that I am here, I follow the local customs, and I seem to be more energetic. The teacher smiled and joked, you look much more rosy these days, it's not like when I first saw you, your face was pale. Isn't it because you are happy with the teacher, eat well and sleep well? I approached the teacher with the bowl in my hand, leaned on her shoulder and acted coquettishly, you are so old. But you still don't behave properly in front of your juniors. The teacher pretended to be disgusted and put a big piece of meat in my bowl. Eat it while it's hot, eat more. I lowered my head and took a big bite of meat, but my nose suddenly felt sore. I didn't want the teacher to see me crying, so I ate the meat in the bowl with tears. After returning home that night, the old phone kept vibrating. I don't know what medicine Zhou Xuyan took wrong, and he kept making calls. After calming down, I sent him the first and last text message, the divorce agreement is signed. I will return to Beijing to handle the divorce procedures with you, don't bother me for anything else, otherwise, I will cancel this phone permanently. The moment the message was sent, Zhou Xuyan called again. I still didn't answer. He didn't call again. It was just a long time later that he replied with one word. Okay. When the message was sent, Zhou Xuyan leaned on the sofa dejectedly, and suddenly covered his face and laughed silently. His friends sat aside and looked at each other, but no one dared to persuade him. He had been looking for Lin Bihan these days, and was going crazy. Although he didn't make it public, the news had gradually spread in the circle. His mistress Tao Yuan was also very miserable. I heard that she was sent to the hospital too late, and her uterus could not be saved. But Zhou Xuyan still refused to let her go. She was just expelled from school a few days ago, and her parents thought she was embarrassing and broke off the relationship. Now she is lingering on and walking on thin ice. She wanted to burn incense and pray day and night for Lin Bihan to come back quickly. Zhou Xuyan would let her live, but Lin Bihan seemed to have evaporated from the face of the earth. No news, Brother Yan. Was that the message sent by my sister-in-law just now? Someone asked boldly. Zhou Xuyan leaned on the sofa, closed his eyes, and was silent for a long time. Just when everyone thought he would not answer, Zhou Xuyan suddenly spoke, she really doesn't want me anymore. The atmosphere was stagnant for a moment. How could that be? You have been friends for so many years. Wait until sister-in-law calms down, and you apologize. Sister-in-law is soft-hearted and will forgive you. Zhou Xuyan just shook his head. You don't understand her. As soon as he finished speaking, the door was suddenly kicked open from outside. It hit the wall hard, making a loud clang. Everyone was startled and looked back. Zhou Xuyan also sat up slowly. He squinted slightly, and after seeing who was coming, he suddenly raised his eyebrows and laughed sarcastically. It turned out to be you. Chen Jingyao. Chen Jingyao did not respond, nor did he look at the other people in the room. He walked straight to Zhou Xuyan. He kicked over the coffee table, and then reached out to grab Zhou Xuyan's collar. No one expected that a man who looked so thin could have such great strength. The half-drunk Zhou Xuyan was dragged up by him and pressed hard against the wall. Why, do you want to fight? Zhou Xuyan laughed sarcastically and viciously, but before he finished speaking, Chen Jingyao punched him in the face. Zhou Xuyan, I said this 5 years ago, if you treat her badly, I won't let you go. Zhou Xuyan turned his face away, and scarlet blood flowed from his nose. He raised his hand to wipe it off carelessly, and then punched back heavily. The room soon became a mess. Wine bottles shattered, tables and chairs fell. The drunk Zhou Xuyan quickly lost the upper hand and was kicked to the ground by Chen Jingyao. Both of them were injured, and Zhou Xuyan's face was unrecognizable. A bloody cut was made on the back of Chen Jingyao's hand, and blood kept dripping. Who the hell do you think you are? Is it your turn to interfere in my affairs with my wife? Zhou Xuyan leaned on the sofa with one leg, sneering. Why? You heard that we had a quarrel, so you can't wait to come and poach me? It's a pity, Chen Jingyao. 5 years ago, Lin Bihan chose me instead of you, and it will be the same 5 years later. Chen Jingyao slowly clenched his bloody hands. The wound on the back of his hand cracked deeper and looked creepy, but he didn't feel any pain at all. It was just like a thorn in his heart. which pierced deeper and deeper. It got into his flesh and made him restless day and night. We are brothers, and I kindly advise you not to think about other people's wives. Zhou Xuyan smiled very badly. We have been married for 3 years. And I don't know how many times we have slept together. He deliberately stared at Chen Jingyao's face, appreciating every inch of the painful expression on his face, absorbing the stimulating pleasure. All rationality was gone. He just wanted to make Chen Jingyao suffer and collapse. She gave me her first love, first kiss, and first night. What can you use to compete with me, Chen Jingyao? Everyone knows how much Lin Bihan loves me. It is because she loves me that she can't tolerate a grain of sand in her eyes. The more she quarrels with me, the more it proves that she cares about me. So, what's the point of you running all the way here? Do you think you can take advantage of the opportunity and win the beauty? Don't dream about it, Chen Jingyao. Lin Bihan has never had you in her eyes, and she will never love you. Zhou Xuyan supported the sofa and stood up with difficulty. Even though he was extremely embarrassed, he was standing in front of Chen Jingyao, the former loser. He still wanted to be superior. I won't divorce my wife. Give up this idea. You will never have a chance in this life, Zhou Xuyan. Chen Jingyao looked at him, and the depths of his eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of frost and snow. It was extremely cold, but also extremely resolute. If I could have seen that you were such a scum 5 years ago, even if she hated and resented me, I would have snatched her away. Why do you snatch her from me? Or are you a cheap person who likes to eat other people's leftovers? Chen Jingyao suddenly raised his hand, and his bloody hand slammed heavily on his jaw. He looked at Zhou Xuyan. His eyes were blood red. I'm waiting to see your retribution. Zhou Xuyan actually never believed in retribution, but when he finally rushed thousands of miles to the small town covered with yellow sand, but he could only watch Chen Jingyao find Lin Bihan in the desert first. At that moment, he suddenly realized that his retribution had come. It came quickly and unexpectedly. He was not prepared, and he had no power to fight back. The yellow sand rolled, covering the sky and the sun. He didn't know if Lin Bihan saw him. He just watched Chen Jingyao carefully help the injured girl get on the desert off-road vehicle. When getting on the car, she was too weak. It was Chen Jingyao who carried her on. He still followed the car to the hospital. Her teacher came out to stop him, but let Chen Jingyao follow him to the examination room. The wind stopped, and the rolling yellow sand stopped. He spat out the sand in his mouth and lit a cigarette, one after another. He couldn't stop. He hurriedly asked her mentor, has she been with you here all the time? Yes, she works very hard and can endure hardships. She is not in good health. Zhou Xuyan swallowed the bitterness in his throat. Has she been very hard during this period? The teacher raised his chin and looked at him lightly. No, she is very happy. Zhou Xuyan's eyes were scary red. Maybe it was blown by the wind and sand. Teacher, do I still have a chance? Will she forgive me? I really regret it. I know I was wrong. He was like a helpless but confused child, such a tall man, grabbing the teacher's sleeve, almost shed tears. I don't know, but I respect all of Bai Han's choices. Teacher, can you help me, please? But the teacher shook his head and pushed his hand away. Bai Han is my most proud student. I know her very well, and her temper is very similar to mine. No one can help you in this matter. But teacher, our 10 years of relationship. So what? The teacher smiled indifferently but contemptuously. My ex-husband and I have been married for 15 years. He even knelt down and cried to beg me. But a dirty man is dirty, no different from garbage. Zhou Xuyan, we women are not garbage recycling stations. If you really care about your 10 years of relationship, let her go free. When the day the divorce procedures were completed, when I came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Zhou Xuyan called me wife. He looked stunned, and his whole spirit was gone. Those eyes that were once passionate and wanton had long been dull. Call me by my name, Bai Han. Zhou Xuyan walked up to me and stood still. He looked at me earnestly, and the dim eyes were faintly bright again. We can still be friends, right? Just like 10 years ago, let's start as friends. I shook my head. No, but Bai Han, I interrupted him decisively. Zhou Xuyan, I said 5 years ago that there is no word forgiveness in my life dictionary. I wronged myself and gave in back then. So 5 years later, I got my retribution. Then let's not be friends. Let's start as strangers. Okay, just give me one more chance. Just this once. I swear. Zhou Xuyan, don't you know me yet? In your eyes, Lin Bai Han, who is just ordinary, is actually a stubborn person. Zhou Xuyan suddenly looked at me. Did you hear everything that night? I nodded lightly. Yes, I heard everything. The last bit of light in his eyes shattered like ice cracks. But Bai Han, you took away my favorite pearl necklace and our wedding ring? You still can't let go of our love? He was like a drowning man, desperate to grab the last straw. But I broke his last fantasy. I burned them all in the jewelry workshop. Zhou Xuyan. You can go to the sewer to find this so-called old love. I didn't say anything more to him, turned around and continued to walk out, but Zhou Xuyan soon caught up with me again. Are you going to be with Chen Jingyao? But all men in the world are the same, Bai Han. He just didn't get you. Once he gets you, he will make the same mistakes as I did before. So what? I looked at him calmly. After experiencing such a bad ex like you, what else can I not afford to lose? Are you going to marry him? I will seriously consider marriage, but I am still young, and the career I like and the man I like are completely compatible. Do you like him? I looked at him and smiled. Does it have anything to do with you? When I was standing on the side of the road waiting for the traffic light, I saw the car parked on the side of the road. In the early spring weather, Chen Jingyao was wearing a black jacket and leaning against the car. New buds of goose yellow emerged on the dead branches. There was still a chill in the wind. He stood there quietly, but from time to time he looked in the direction I was walking, until the moment he saw me, he stood up straight instantly, and the sun broke through the clouds. A faint bright halo fell into his eyes. Lin Bai Han, he strode towards me. When the traffic light turned green, the frozen crowd began to flow. It became a note jumping on the zebra crossing, but I stood there without moving. I just smiled at the corners of my lips and tilted my head slightly to look at him, watching him stride towards me with long legs. It was like the most timeless movie scene. Lin Bai Han, he finally walked in front of me and looked down at me. He seemed very nervous, and his breathing was disordered. It seemed that the wind was too cold, and his ears were also frozen slightly red. I looked up at him, and vaguely remembered the particularly unruly boy many years ago. It turns out that the countless encounters on the way to and from school are not just encounters. It turns out that the countless encounters when passing by and colliding with each other's eyes are not just coincidences. I can't imagine what Chen Jingyao, as a bystander, felt when I was in love with Zhou Xuyan. When I rejected him and decided to be with Zhou Xuyan, the last look he gave me, the last smile, how much sadness he endured. It's just that love has no reason. The young Chen Jingyao and Zhou Xuyan were two completely different types, and at that time, I was sentimental and sensitive, and I liked Zhou Xuyan who could make girls happy more. It seemed to be a natural thing. I don't regret the past, I just decided to look forward. Have you been waiting for a long time? I asked him with a smile. Not long, just right. His hand hanging by his side slowly raised a little. It seemed that he wanted to hold my hand, but he paused. Chen Jingyao. I called his name and stomped my feet lightly. The spring wind in Beijing is really cold. Are you cold? Yes, it's so cold that my hands are frozen. I stretched out my hand to show him, and my fingertips were slightly red from the cold. Chen Jingyao didn't say anything, but just gently held my hand. He rubbed my cold fingertips until they gradually warmed up. He then naturally held my hand and put it in his coat pocket. The traffic light turned green again. The crowd flowed lively again. Chen Jingyao pulled me and joined in. Spring is here, and the spring is getting stronger. It's a good time to fall in love. 20 Zhou Xuyan, Lin Bihan still married Chen Jingyao. When they got married, many former classmates, friends and teachers came, even more than when he married her. The wedding was not as high profile and grand as his back then, but it was extremely warm and happy. Zhou Xuyan saw the whole wedding process on a friend's social platform. Everyone around him advised him to be open-minded and stop paying attention. The couple was in love, like honey and oil. Why did he torture himself? But Zhou Xuyan couldn't control himself. He was like a thief who was afraid of the light, hiding in the dark and spying. I don't know if he wanted to find a crack, or he wanted to sprinkle salt on the wound of Ling Qi to torture himself. He couldn't sleep all night. He looked through every photo and video of them over and over again. Lin Bihan was still very beautiful. The hard work of running around and sleeping outdoors in the past few years did not wear her out. On the contrary, she was more lively and healthier than when she was Mrs. Zhou. It is said that Chen Jingyao and her have been apart for the past few years. It is normal to lose contact for several months or half a year. Zhou Xuyan had also secretly thought that Chen Jingyao was also a man, and as a man, he knew the bad nature of men best. He didn't believe that he could really keep his chastity and have no complaints. He even had someone secretly watch Chen Jingyao. He wanted to find his fault and expose it to Lin Bihan. But after a few years, Chen Jingyao was just like the beginning, without making any mistakes. It's just that Chen Jingyao proposed to Lin Bihan several times. But Lin Bihan refused. He was secretly very happy when he knew it. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. Although Lin Bihan didn't agree to marry, she stayed at Chen Jingyao's house every time she returned to Kyoto. At first, he was particularly looking forward to Lin Bihan's return, because he could see her from a distance and relieve his longing. But later, what he feared most was Lin Bihan's return, because he would dream of the scene of Lin Bihan and Chen Jingyao in bed. Zhou Xuyan thought, I'm afraid I will never forget it until I die. When Lin Bihan just moved to Chen Jingyao's house, they didn't go out for 3 days. 3 days later, they went to the supermarket together. Chen Jingyao was so happy, and Lin Bihan was so innocent. He sat in the car and watching like a tortured person. At that moment, he wanted to die. The second year after Lin Bihan married Chen Jingyao, she became pregnant. That year, when he came home drunk, Tao Yuan retaliated against him. He had lived a miserable life in the past few years, and all his anger was poured on Tao Yuan. No one was allowed to get close, so they didn't even close the door. No, later, she should have had an emotional breakdown, and decided to fight him to the death, but he didn't die. It was just a coincidence. When the child in Lin Bihan's belly grew day by day, he was sentenced to death by the doctor. He couldn't leave the wheelchair for the rest of his life. He also completely lost his fertility. Zhou Xuyan thought, Chen Jingyao, that bastard, really came true. He betrayed his beloved wife, he kicked away his only child in this life, and now, he has lost his beloved forever. He can never have children again. It's really retribution, and for the rest of this hopeless and long half of his life, he will live in the retribution he planted with his own hands. He can't be reborn.